Human beings. Uh, I guess this is my You Are My Star channel. I know YouTube probably makes a few people very, very rich, which I don't like, but I do like being able to create things and put them on something where that is accessible to everybody. So that's kind of nice. I just don't think it should be one corporation or it should be publicly owned. Maybe eventually that can happen. We have these few sites that everybody uses: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Probably some others, but a few people getting very rich off everyone else. Control, control of the medium, of the media. And the algorithm can be twisted a little bit to, well, to make outlandish claims and lies and deceit and hate amplified. It's out of the hands of, the public. It's about profits. And when the billionaires get really, really rich and powerful, I mean, their ideas about what politics should be, that's all we're going to hear. And I think it was Citizens United. The Supreme Court was that 5-4, 6-3. It's always Republicans that vote for the conservative way, like letting corporations and billionaires spend as much as they want. They called it freedom of speech. It's a freedom issue, but there's also the issue of democracy and equality and a more perfect union and the general welfare of our society, which is not served by this idea of freedom of speech. You can spend as much money as you want on elections and politicians, which means you buy the politicians, which means they do what you want. When Trump and the Republicans got into office, the first thing they did was cut the taxes on the rich and corporations. They also had some middle class tax cuts. But the crazy thing is because we're crazy, those tax cuts for the rich and the corporations were supposed to stay, but the middle class tax cuts would phase out. How dumb? How dumb are we? How dumb are we? Pretty dumb. We like to be told lies and like how great we are instead of dealing with poverty, homelessness, people that can't afford rent. You want to bitch and moan about inflation, but if the inflation is due to global climate change, you don't want to deal with that either. I believe is it State Farm in Florida that have said we can't insure houses anymore because of all the storms, and sometimes the change in the climate has a really bad impact on our food supply, which causes inflation. So anyway, I hope we grow up, become better citizens, become more committed to the whole, to each other, to this beautiful planet, to these beautiful people, and let the selfish and greedy and profit motive of the past go. Of course, keep our freedoms and our rights and democracy and the right to vote and all that. Anyway, I got off on a tangent, didn't I? So this is called You My Star. You Are My Star. You Are My Star. More positive. And yeah, I think part of it, I'd like to turn this thing around because what I'm looking at is I'm on the second story apartment where I live. I'm looking at some really nice maple trees. It's hot. It's probably 95, but it's pretty. But I can't do that because my I've tried it before. It's so bright outside that that's all you'll see, and I'd be in like a shadow. So sorry about that. Uh, But when I call it "You Are My Star," I mean that. And sometimes I just say that, and I'm sure some people think, "Wow, he's crazy." But I'm just talking to the universe. I'm talking to those trees. I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to my mom and my dad and my brother, who are all past, but still here in my heart and my memories. And I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to the person that smiles and says hello instead of just walks by looking at their phone or just, unfriendly. I remember walking down the sidewalk near Berlin and not too long ago, a couple of years ago, and it was just me on the sidewalk and a guy kind of sitting on a fire hydrant. I think he was a construction guy, the way he was dressed. But anyway, he looked at me, I looked at him. Hello? I'm like, okay. You don't have to say hello, but I mean, why are you looking at me? And a lot of people say they're Christian. And when the guy said, Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? To love each other and love God. How can you love each other if you're not friendly? Just basically, hello, how you doing? Good morning. How can you love each other if you're unfriendly? I don't see it. I don't see it. And I think he was right. Uh, we need to love each other and love this planet. No doubt. Okay, so my inspiration, we can be self-inspired. I know that, but I think a lot of times we're inspired by others. My mother is such a sweetheart. My dad, such a great leader. My brother, such a servant. Uh, my friends, my family. Uh, so many inspirations surround us. I was on the bicycle trails today. What did I do? I went like 5 miles to Lake Fayetteville, around Lake Fayetteville, which is 5 miles, 5 miles back, a little more than that. And I can tell you this. So I get off my bike and push it up hills, partly because I'm an old guy, but as much because I need uh, to have what's it called, weight bearing exercise. If you're on your bike, it's not weight bearing, so it does nothing for your bones, your hips. I've read that some really good cyclists have hip problems because it's non-weight bearing. So you need to do something like walk or hike or jog or tennis or basketball, something because of that. So anyway, three things that happened today that were sweet. Uh, there was a guy walking and he had this trail. It was like this. I mean, he's on this trail, a bike trail by the creek. Um, and it was just funny. Maybe he had a backpack too. Uh, but I'm coming up from behind and he's got this tray and he's holding it like this. It was just kind of funny. So I slow down and I'm going by him and I say, "Are you making a delivery?" And he looked at me and he started laughing. He was about 30, I guess. He started laughing. I started laughing. And it was just kind of nice. And as I'm going by, he says, "I like that bike." And I said, "Yeah, it helps. It helps keep me from getting fat." And he goes, "True that." He said something like, "True that." And I've worked with the homeless a lot. And part of me wondered if he was a homeless guy. And a lot of them want bicycles. And a lot of times when they get a bicycle, it gets stolen, especially if it's a nice one. Sad to say, that's the shitty life that we've created for millions of people. Uh, but the reason I say that is because he had a tray of cupcakes, and a lot of the foods we get to distribute to the poor and homeless, high in sugar, salt, high in fat. So I mean, they can have these calories, but they're not the best kind of calories. Almost never fresh vegetables, almost never fresh fruit. So, but our interaction, and I'll tell you that most of the homeless are just as good as anyone else and can communicate with you and and appreciate you just saying hello and treating them like a human being, even if they look disheveled and dirty, and you can tell they're homeless. And some are mentally ill, and some are on drugs, and you can't relate to them, and they can't relate to you. So I'm not saying, you know, all of them can communicate and have a good conversation with you and connect as a human being. But I think most can, and most do. And we're all brothers and sisters, and they are our brothers and sisters. There's no question. Another, I think it was a little bit past that. I'm going by. I'm just riding, but there's like three ladies and a kid walking toward me. The kid is a boy. He's probably, I don't know, 6, and it's probably the mom, grandma, and maybe a sister, a little older. Um, I didn't really look strong enough, but we were passing each other. And who said hello? Who said hello? You know who said hello. It was the little boy. So many adults are kind of in our own little world, and maybe on our phones, or just kind of in our own little world where we don't want to connect to somebody else, or don't say hi to strangers, or he's an old man. I'm sure that's part of it. Part of it sometimes for me. But who's the sweet ones? The innocence. The innocence we all used to have, and we still have, but we hide it away. So my suggestion is to bring out your innocence, and to care about each other, and to say hello and how you doing, and have fun. Have fun with each other, and have fun with this existence. Okay, my number one story, and the one reason I really wanted to do this video, because I usually don't do these very rarely, was because I was on my bike 2 days ago, or maybe yesterday. Anyway, Highway 71 used to go through my hometown of Fayetteville, Arkansas. Highway through the city. Now, they built a bypass in the 70s, probably, maybe 80s, I forget. But 71 is still a highway. It's a 4-lane, sometimes 5-lane, and a lot of traffic. This town now is like 100,000. I think when my dad was born here, it was probably 15, 1931. But a lot of traffic. And this one area, there is a bicycle cross at in between Maple Street and North Street, and it kind of goes into a valley. The bottom of the valley, that's where you push the button, and finally the sign will come up where you can cross the highway, basically. 4 lanes. And it's a scary place because some people aren't attentive or don't really like bicycles. But anyway, so I'm on my bike just standing there waiting, and I can tell on the left, on one of the lanes, somebody stops. They stop. They stop to be nice. Well, shit, there's 3 other lanes. So I'm not doing anything. I'm not moving at all. And after about a minute, I think the other lane going north stops too. So 2 cars going north are stopped. The 2 lanes going south are psh, 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 psh. And finally, maybe after another minute or less, another car stops. So there's 4 lanes, and 3 lanes are stopped. And then the 4th lane stops. So this is a highway, and everybody has stopped for me to cross. The light hasn't changed. It hasn't told them stop and let the bicycle guy go by. No. No, it's just sweet. It can make you cry. Inspiring. It was definitely inspiring. It still is. To remember we can be kind. to each other, to the stranger, kind. It's really awesome. And that's why I'm doing this video. Just to tell that story. Just to tell that story. I love it. I love that story. I love that reality. So I'm talking about inspiration. Part of the reason I'm doing videos, I watched this lady who moved to France. I like France. I want to go back because they're a little more laid back and enjoying life and not so stressed out. And go, go, go. Shop at the farmer's market. Anyway, and more committed to the community. Rents are lower. Here we don't really give a damn. We'll let the rents go up as high as they want, and that's why homelessness is increasing, and people are being stressed out and thinking about voting for Trump because they're stressed out. Trump's not going to help you any. You think the Republicans? They're private. They're for the private sector and the profit motive. That's not going to help you any. I think we need more public housing, including buying apartment complexes that are already built from a private, from an individual, and turning them into public housing, and have it even be able to build equity or even buy the apartment, just like in a lot of Europe. You can buy your apartment. You can buy a decent apartment, $75,000, one bedroom. Not in Paris, but in quite a few towns. You can't do that here. You can rent for $400 a month in a lot of towns. You can't do that here. So again, we need to love each other better, and that includes economics. So inspiration. I hope this video doesn't go on too long. I was just watching the Great American Cook-Off on PBS. Just nice and interesting, and everybody loves food, and maybe it's teaching me a little bit about cooking. And I got some raw garlic. I love garlic. I always have that, but I got some ginger. I'll make a stir fry tomorrow, and definitely with some ginger and garlic. What else did I get? Some smoked paprika and something else. Anyway, the idea of taking time to make a good meal, that's important for human beings. Instead of rushing everywhere, I don't have time. Well, we need to give people the time. Make a society that gives people the time. How long is this? 18 minutes? Oh, that's okay so far. What else was I watching? Or later on I'll watch. My happy hour starts at 5. My grandpa was an alcoholic and died from it. My dad was an alcoholic and went to the hospital because of it. So I want to be careful with my alcohol intake. Luckily, I went through some treatment with my dad. Since he was going through, I would drive my mom out there 3 or 4 days a week. So hopefully that helped me. Knock on wood, at 5 o'clock I'll have happy hour and 2 beers. I'm okay with 2 beers. If I drink 3, I feel like I've kind of failed myself. So wish me luck. 2 beers. And I'll watch the Tour de France from 2022. What am I on? Stage 14. Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogačar. Like the last 4 Tour de France's, or I'm sorry, Tour de France. 5. Last 5. Toddy won. Toddy won. Jonas won. Jonas won. Toddy won. And the years they didn't win, they were in second. These 2 guys. I hope they're not doping. I've been reading some about microdosing, so to get an advantage, or as a lot of these guys that cheat say, everybody else is doing it, I just got to do it to keep up. Yeah, it's sad that we're less than honorable in sports. So I've seen a lot about what's his name, Greg LeMond. The other guy that won 6 or 7 had to give them back because of all the cheating, blood doping, EPO, all that stuff, and the intimidation and harassment and threats to people that challenged him. It's really sickening. And that's what Trump is doing. He'll threaten, intimidate, or his people will. It's really sad. Bullies. You know, I hate bullies. I can be a bully. That's one of the worst things I can ever do. We can just want to get our way. You know, me. I want to get my way. You better watch out. And yeah, the threats and violence. What was January 6th when they attacked the Capitol? That's madness, a mob of madness, a bunch of bullies trying to overthrow America, beating up policemen, injuring policemen, bullies. Unbelievable. But anyway, that's not why I watch it, Tour de France. I watch it because it's inspiring, and France is beautiful. And riding my bike. Why do I ride my bike? People say, "Oh, you do that for exercise." No, I said, "No, man. When I was young, I rode a bike because it's fun. It's just fun, and it is. And part of the fun is you're outside, you're in the wind. If it's a nice day, it's awesome, but also it's just beautiful. So that's part of it too. So I'm trying to be inspired. At 65, I want to do. I still want to live. I'm retired from teaching, but I'm not retired from living, and I want to do some things of positive nature, and partly because of the people that have inspired me. You know, I want to inspire others or do some things. You know, like this lady I was saying. I'm sorry, who went to France and said, "I'm older, and nothing was going for me in America, and I wasn't being treated right because I'm old. So I moved to France, and it's so much better here." And at least for her, you know, and I was proud of her for saying, "My life is no good here. I deserve better in my last, 15 years of living." So she moves to France, doesn't know anybody. But this brave woman is having a better life. Good for her. That's inspiring. So I'm hoping to inspire my stars. You are my star. And what's another thing I'm going to do? I hope, knock on wood. And I went up to the University of Arkansas history department. I was going to try to talk to Randall Woods, professor. Just wrote a book, John Quincy Adams. But I was going to tell him, I said, I've read a lot about colonial history and the Constitution, and I've taught government and history, and I want to write a musical from like 1700 to 1800, basically the colonial era, late colonial era, I guess, into the Revolution and Constitution. And this idea of independence and this idea of the Constitution, the Revolution and the Constitution. We want independence. Well, almost everybody was fighting for independence. But once we got independence, then we had to create a government. That was as hard as the revolution. Very different, but just as hard to create a good government, a good constitution. Imperfect. There was slavery. There was genocide of the Native Americans. There was an aristocracy, even though it wasn't as bad as in Europe. That's why a lot of people came here, because they had an idea they could get land, they could start something where they had no hope in England. But I wanna try to write a musical on that. And the secretary, who was really nice, we talked about growing up here and stuff. She's from Prairie Grove, which used to be called Sweet Home. That's pretty cool. Sweet Home was the name of the city. Anyway, so she gave me the emails of Dr. Woods and 2 other professors. So I emailed all 3 of them. And it's early August, so it's summer school, and I don't even think any of them are. I don't know what they're doing, but nope, nobody's contacted me yet, and they may not. But that was just a step in the right direction for me. I reached out. I could use some help. I would like to, I told them, I said, I would like to ask you a few questions, and maybe you could help guide me or help me with the framework, and I'd like to bring him some work I did. What do you think about this? And we go, well, that first part's right. That second part, you know, because I'm not a professor of early American history. I've just read a lot and want to write a musical about it. So that's one thing that I want to do, and going to the history department and looking for those guys. Uh, that's the first step, and I need to keep walking down that path. I also want to knock on wood again. I want to do another channel. It's going to be called Teaching U.S. History. I think that's what I'll call it. Simple. But I'm going to go through this book that I used to teach at Springdale High School. It's called Creating America. I really liked it. The passages aren't that long. It has a lot of photographs or drawings. Had a lot of ancillary materials like quizzes, and I would give a quiz every section, so like 4 quizzes, and then you take the test. So they'd already gone over some of the important material. I was dealing with ESL. That's when I got the book. The book's 9th grade. I taught 10th grade. But shit, some of the kids I had read like 4th graders or 2nd graders. It'd be like me moving to Mexico. I mean, I don't know, I'd read like a kid. And as I tell people, I'm not big on ESL. I'm big on literacy, because the poor white kid that I taught, they read like a 3rd grader. It was just like the guy that came from Mexico that read like a 3rd grader. It was literacy. So anyway, I want to kind of go through the book in sections. This is a good time to do it because they start teaching early America and Native American probably in September. So if I'll have a month to kind of get started, and I have to be in front of them just to give them some ideas. A lot of it's on questioning what the ideas of, the question of when did the war of this happen? Not so much that fact, but more ideas on, do you think there was a way that the colonial French and British could have gotten along better with the Native Americans? If so, what might that be? And you could do that for an individual, or you could put them in pairs, or you could have them write down their ideas and then get into a group and then have the group make a little poster and then present that. Like I said, I taught 10th graders. They're about 16, 15, 16. They can talk about anything. They're smart enough to, understand almost anything. I mean, talking historical or in government, maybe not molecular chemistry, but I don't know nothing about that either. But that's one thing I liked about teaching high schools, because these people, I could talk to them and they understood everything. And that's what I was into. I was into the history and government, and just talking about uh, those parts of life. So anyway, we need to have some fun. This is painting. What I'm doing, you can see there's some writing on there because I write songs, and songs are kind of poetry, and so I've started to write. I don't even know if you call it poetry. Self-actualization, potentials fulfilled, the gods have willed. Nature dreams life, gods dream love. But anyway, my art is it a song or a poem or a painting? To me, And I'm not done with this. Probably, I don't know. I, I sometimes add too much stuff. Is there an example? Well, this is more, I like color. I like the Impressionists. They had a lot of color. Color. Did I already show you this one? No. Butterfly. Anyway, what's it called when you trace around something? So I've just started to do that, and I know some people say, "Oh, that's not art. You're just tracing around that thing," and that's true. I'm a songwriter. I'm not really a painter, and I don't really care if it looks good. I like the way that horse looks. I think it's kind of cool. However, I did it. I just started kites. I think the kite needs to be bigger, probably. But I like the motif. I like the idea. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that more. Anything else? I don't think so. I think you guys are wonderful. I think you guys are gifts of the universe, messengers of love. I wrote that in a song. I like that. I need to write another song. Just talking about love messenger. I was trying to rhyme things with jur. Messenger. One thing I am sure. The love messenger. Yeah. I mean, there's a beautiful couple of maple trees right outside my window. They're beautiful. They're not as complex as me and you. And the feelings of love and compassion and inspiration and connection and wonder, all these things were pretty special. We're beautiful like that tree. If you said, who's more beautiful, the tree or you? And I go, man, it makes no sense to say that. The tree's beautiful, and me and you are beautiful. The sky's beautiful. What the Native Americans? Beauty above me, beauty below me, beauty all around, something like that. Life is a magical miracle of the universe. We can see a long way. It's the only place we've seen life. Not only that, life as complex as we are. The way we communicate, the way I'm communicating. It's amazing. So anyway, I wish you the best. And the way that we can really wish each other the best is create good governments, good societies that help each other. Is it Matthew 28:40 or something? How you treat the least of mine is how you treat me. We need to have the focus of trying to help. I know some parents with adult children with severe mental illness, but they have a hard time helping them because it's so much money to try to deal with that. And it's frustrating and it's sad. And a lot of these shootings, basically, if you look at who does it, from what I can tell, is most of the people have a severe mental illness and a past of some real pain, and they're striking out or lashing out or trying to become famous. They've lost something. They've lost their humanity. And that's another reason to try to create a better society to help people that need help. Um, because when people say, oh, justice, the electric chair, we need to sentence him to death for justice. It's not justice. If he has an assault weapon and kills 6 people and injures 10, it'll never be justice. There's too much pain involved in that. We have to stop it before that happens. And what did I saw some people talking about it. You can buy an assault weapon and ammunition before you can buy alcohol. What does that mean? An assault weapon. Why are we even selling assault weapons? It's because there's a lobby that's very powerful. And some people say, I'm with the NRA and I vote. Well, there's 10,000 more issues. It's not just gun issues. And if you want to keep your guns and have gun rights, that's fine. But I don't know why you want an assault weapon, or why you don't want background checks, or some other ways that we can stop the crazy madness of the violence of America, which is so much more violent than so many other countries. There's something wrong with us, and I think part of it is our lack of gun laws. And it's also our lack of commitment to each other. We have a bunch of billionaires that have been getting really, really rich. And the internet helped that, and cutting capital gains taxes helped that, and the pandemic helped that, and electing Trump and Republicans that cut the taxes on the rich helped that. So we're doing all these bad things that are concentrating wealth into the hands of the few, and the many are struggling and just going, life's not fair. Yeah, it's not fair. It's partly not fair because we're not very good at citizenship and voting and loving each other. And I hope we become better at that. We have to. We must. And we can, my brothers and my sisters, my stars.